This is Find Your Dream Job, the podcast that helps you get hired, have the career you want, and make a difference in life. I'm Mac Pritchard, your host and publisher of MaxList. Our show is brought to you by MaxList. It's your best online source for rewarding, creative, and meaningful work. Visit maxlist.org to learn more. You'll find hundreds of great jobs, a blog with practical career advice, and our new book, Land Your Dream Job in Portland and Beyond. Many Americans today have a college education. In fact, more than 1 out of 5 of us have a 4-year degree, and another 4 out of 10 of us have an associate degree. And now, a college education offers a lot of benefits, including resources that can help you with your job search. On today's show, we're going to discuss how to work with a university career services center. And we'll share our own experiences and talk with a national expert. But before we do that, let's check in with the MaxList team. So Ben, Cecilia, how are you two this week?
Doing well.
I've got a little bit of a head cold this week, so I'm going to sound extra nasally.
Okay. You probably caught that cold just to help with your on-air voice.
Exactly.
Right. Well, this is a topic, working with a college career center that's close to my heart, and let me explain why. Twice in my career, I'm in my mid-50s, I worked with someone at a career center and it made a huge difference. And the first time I was in my mid-20s, I was living in Boston, and I was struggling. I'd been out of work for 6 months, and it came as a shock to me because my first few jobs had come very easily. And now in hindsight, I see that I had gotten lucky. I replied to ads, but I didn't really know how to look for work. And my wife worked at Northeastern University, and someone there at the Career Center said she'd be happy to sit down and talk with me. And she shared the basics of goal setting and networking, and I used that information to find a great job in about 6 weeks after being unemployed for a long time. So that made a huge difference. And then later, when I was getting ready to move to Oregon, I worked with the Career Center at my graduate school, and they again taught me skills and how to work with an alumni office, things I wouldn't have known if I hadn't walked through that door. What about you two? Have you had positive experiences working with your college career centers?
Yeah, going to my career center is what led me to the internship program that placed me with MaxList, so they helped me out a ton.
Good. How about you, Ben?
I guess I'm the black sheep here because I was the kid who waited until a month before graduation before thinking about the career center and walked in hoping they could find me a job when I graduated. It didn't work out well.
Yeah, well, you were actually light years ahead of me because when I was an undergraduate at the University of Iowa, I don't think I even knew where the Career Center was, and I still don't. So kudos to you for walking through the door.
Better late than never.
Yeah. Well, we'll hear more about this. We'll be talking to this week's expert, Linda Williams Favero, who runs a career center at the University of Oregon. But before we do that, let's check in with our team. And every week, Ben is out there searching through the internet, looking for those blogs and podcasts and other tools you can use in your job search. So, Ben, what have you uncovered this week?
This week, Mac, I wanted to share a feature I just discovered on LinkedIn. It's called LinkedIn University. That's University, Y-O-U, University. It's available on linkedin.com/edu. So we all know that LinkedIn is a great networking tool, in part because it's this huge database of personal and professional information. LinkedIn University is a simple tool for sifting through all of that data to find meaningful professional contacts. In this case, contacts based around alumni affiliation.
So just to pause there, this isn't on the LinkedIn site. Is this an app that people download?
This is on the actual website.
Okay.
linkedin.com/edu.
Okay, so you can follow that URL or go to the main page.
Yeah, and I would suggest you do this on a desktop simply because there's just a lot of data that's going through here. So now a lot of this functionality that I'm going to be talking about existed before, but it was kind of cumbersome to use. It was often kind of hidden and you had to dig around to find it. LinkedIn University is a much more user-friendly way of organizing this data. And here's what's so cool about it. It has something for everyone, or regardless of the stage of life you're in or the professional status you have. So for young adults or professionals who might be considering going back to grad school, for example, the University Finder tool will help you select schools and programs depending on what your career goals are. This is really cool because it kind of works backwards. You pick your desired outcome in terms of what you want to do for a career or where you want to live. and what kind of activities you want to do. You enter this into the system, and LinkedIn cross-references what you've put in across all of its users and pops out the names of universities that those users have gone to who most closely match what you want to do. So I brought my trusty computer here, and I'm going to show you a quick example. So, for example, let's say I really know that what I want to do is advertising. Put that in. And I want to work at Nike in the Portland area. And perhaps I want to be in their digital marketing department.
I'm amazed by your speed typing.
I'm really good.
Yeah.
So the top hit here for all the users in LinkedIn who have meet these criteria, advertising, Nike, Portland, and marketing, you'll never guess. It's the University of Oregon. So LinkedIn tells me that there's 108 OU alumni who have the dream job I just described. And now I can connect with those users or perhaps start networking with them or use them as mentors to help me get to where they are right now. It's really cool. Now, for established professionals, the Alumni tool can help you build your own network by connecting you with fellow alumni. Much like the University Finder tool, you can search for alums by any combination of location, employer, job title, job function, skills, shared connections, and so forth. LinkedIn then cross-references all this across the database and pops out people who meet your criteria. So let me bring back my computer here. This time I'm going to look for folks from my alma mater, American University. It's a real long title. who live in Portland, who work for Nike. They do marketing. And again, let's say I really want to get specific and say it's in the digital advertising. Okay, there's one person here in Portland who matches all those criteria. If I really want to get into Nike and talk to that person and network, this is the best way I can find them. So again, a lot of this functionality existed before, but it's just a really cool visual way to get all of that data and organize it and find the right people you need to meet and talk to. So I suggest you check it out. It's linkedin.com/edu.
That's a great suggestion. As we'll hear later from Linda, many universities do have online databases of alums, but many don't. So this is a wonderful alternative for people who are trying to find graduates from their university or college who are working in their field or for an employer they want to connect with.
Yeah, it's great. And actually, one of the funny things is when I was researching this, I found 2 people who I already know in Portland who actually share my alma mater with me. We had no idea that we were all Eagles.
Yeah.
So,
well, thanks, Ben. Do you have a suggestion for Ben? Drop him an email. His address is ben@maxlist.org. And he is always standing by with that keyboard and waiting to hear from you. Now it's time, speaking of listening to you, our audience, it's time to hear from Cecilia Bianco, our community manager. And she joins us, as she does every week, to answer one of your questions. Cecilia, what's the question of the week?
Our question this week is, should I list every job I've ever had on my resume? And my answer for that is no, because including jobs that don't support why you're the right fit for a specific position can crowd your resume. And employers, as well as online application systems, are looking for keywords and specific qualifications. So it's going to help you stand out more if your resume is tailored and straight to the point, with only the relevant experience that shows why you're the right fit for the job. So Mac, as someone who's hired many employees, what's your opinion on that?
I think your advice is very sound here. You want to describe the jobs you want to list the jobs that matter. And after you've been in the workforce for a number of years, you may find that you take temporary positions that last 3, 6, even 12 months that just aren't relevant 5, 10, 15 years later, either because you've changed fields or you've developed a different set of skills. And conciseness and relevance, as you recommend, Cecilia, I think makes all the difference.
Right. I definitely think it's important, and I know that a lot of people worry they don't want to have employment gaps on their resume, but it's sometimes better to just list the relevant, and if they ask about a gap, you can explain that and why you left it out. So even though it's challenging to remove jobs sometimes for whatever reason, people get attached to listing every job and feel weird to take it out, it often doesn't really help your case, and you want to focus on the skills and experiences that speak directly to the job you're applying for. And if you don't have any directly relevant experience, you can work on framing the experience you do have to be applicable to the job in question. So, for example, if you're applying for a communications job but don't have experience doing communications work, just think about how your past jobs demonstrate that you're a good communicator, which can be simple things like leading a meeting or finding solutions to problems in the office or mentoring a younger colleague. So anything that really shows you have the skills you need to be good at the job, even if you haven't written a communications audit or launched a successful campaign. Mac and Ben, anything to add to that?
How would you suggest people talk about gaps in their resume?
Well, if they took it out just because it wasn't relevant to the position they're applying for, I think it's fine to just say that. And if they took it out for another reason, that depends on the case, but there's a lot of different ways to pivot from employment gaps, which you can find tips for that on our blog.
Great.
Good. All right. Well, thank you. If you have a question for Cecilia, please let her know, and you can write her directly. Her email address is cecilia@maxlist.org. Now, these segments by Ben and Cecilia are sponsored by the Maxlist Guides, the publisher of our new book, Land Your Dream Job in Portland and Beyond. And those guides give you the tools you need to get the job you want. We'll show you how to crack the hidden job market, stand out in a crowded field, and how to manage your career. The book has 8 chapters, and in each of them, you'll find experts who share job hunting secrets, like how to hear about positions that are never posted and what you can do to interview and negotiate like a pro. You can get the first chapter of the book for free. Just visit our website, maxlist.org/maxlistguides. Linda Williams Favero is a program director at the University of Oregon's Alumni Career Services Office. She works with students, recent graduates, and alumni, and her goal is an important one. She helps people start job searches, make professional connections, and manage careers. Linda, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. And I've had such terrific experiences in my own career working with university career services offices, but I think a lot of people don't know what they do and how they can help students and recent graduates. Why don't you give us an overview of what a student or a recent graduate can expect to find if they walk into a career services office at their college?
So career centers, interestingly, you're right, a lot of people don't utilize them as effectively as they can. In fact, there are some stats that say students and recent graduates only use them about 10 to 20% of the population actually uses a career center. Some of the things that we hear from students are, well, I didn't need a job when I was in school, not recognizing that these really are professionals that can help you in your career, advancing it, and even just kind of helping you figure out what you want to do. And there's lots of different resources. Some people have such different styles. So some people like one-on-one, some people like small group, some people like the big networking events where they can hide. So in most career centers, there is something for everybody.
And I certainly had that experience the 2 times I worked closely with a university career center. The experience that you talk about, I would walk in and there'd hardly be anybody there.
Yeah.
And I was surprised because in both instances, I got invaluable help that made a huge difference in finding my next job. Mm. So, and I have to say that in talking to my fellow students at the time, when they thought about career centers at all, they had this idea that it was a place where recruiters might gather and interview people. But as you say, it's a lot more than that. So, what is your best advice about how to start if you're both either a student or a recent graduate or an alum? I think a lot of alums don't think about calling centers like yours after they've left a university, for example.
Right. Well, I have 2 points to make on that. One is, I think it's really important to develop a relationship with one of the counselors or the advisors. And if you're a student, really starting in the early stages of doing that, because they can be such an amazing advocate in getting to know you and knowing opportunities and what might be the right fit for you. So that would be the primary thing. And then they can kind of coach you depending on your style and what interests you, how you should be involved in campus and more involved with the Career Center. But I'd like to address the recent graduate and alumni point even further, because that is a new phenomenon with a lot of career centers, that they have these services called Alumni Career Services. There's a new professional organization So looking into your university, seeing do they offer alumni career services, and now alumni associations as well are starting to offer these services. So there's actually two ways that you can strategize in terms of identifying those contacts.
Okay, let's break that down into two groups. So we've got students who are listeners, and they're getting ready to walk through the door of the Career Center, and they want to have that relationship. What are practical steps they can take, students, to do that?
Well, one of the things I would recommend is a lot of times they offer drop-in services. I don't actually recommend that. I think it's better to identify one person that you're going to invest your time in, because most centers have multiple career counselors, and really make a regular habit of going in there and seeing them maybe once a quarter, whatever your schedule allows, but start to really develop that rapport, start to have them understand your interests, your strengths, your experiences, and begin to articulate that, creating your materials and really taking that throughout your 4 years, or at either, at an undergraduate level or at a graduate level as well.
Okay, so so if you're a student, get yourself down to the Career Center and try to do it on a regular basis. What about people like me? I graduated from the University of Iowa in 1980. It's been 35 years. I haven't been to a reunion, and I'm doing a job search. What advice would you give someone, whether they've been out 35 years or 5 or 10 years, to reach out to a Career Center, especially if it's perhaps across the country?
Yes, I think that's an excellent question. And I know that for people that have attended the University of Oregon, I do many Skype and phone appointments. So again, reach out to the Career Center and see if these services are available. With a lot of public institutions, there might be some free services that you might not be aware of. With public institutions, they aren't always able to have it free for a lifetime. With private institutions, so for instance, at U of O, you can have free services for a 1-year post-graduation, and then every alum gets one free appointment with a career counselor, and if they choose to purchase additional services, they can do that. And then with private institutions, a lot of times you get to have it for free. So you might start to develop a relationship with a counselor then. You also might really want to start to connect with the chapters. Most universities have chapters, and the farther you go away from your university, the more people want to connect, support you, and hire those people that they went to school with. They have that strong affinity, and they feel that connection.
Yeah, I think you're making a really important point there, because one of the best resources that I've had access to in my job searches over the years, and I see many other people benefit from this too, are those alumni networks. And my experience has been that most universities and colleges have online databases now with the names of graduates and contact information. But I see people struggle when I talk to them in informational interviews about how to get started. What advice do you have, Linda, for listeners who think, okay, I went to college, I went to this college, I'd like to reach out to alums in my community. How do I do that? What should I ask for, and what should I expect?
I think LinkedIn is actually your best resource for that. I know that some universities have those online directories, but I have to say a lot of people aren't great at keeping their contact information updated in all those different areas, where LinkedIn is something where people are using it on a continual basis. So I would really make sure that you are connected with the official site. Sometimes universities have multiple LinkedIn groups, but many universities now, because it's a big push from LinkedIn, have these official sites where you have to be vetted as a faculty, staff, alum, or a student. So then you really are reaching your university contacts. And then there's wonderful searches. I can't show it to you on the podcast, where you can do some advanced searches where you plug in the city and your university, and then it starts to populate all these contacts that you might have. And it's possible your university doesn't have a chapter in your area, and maybe you could even start and gather someone at a local pub or a local brewery or a restaurant or something like that, and just start to reach out. And I guarantee you other people will be grateful that you've taken the initiative.
Yeah, I have moved around a number of times over the years to different parts of the country, and I've always found that there is an iClub for the University of Iowa or an alumni club for my graduate school at Harvard, and they have events, social events, and it's a great way to meet people in person.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, because people want to hire people they like. They want to connect with people that they have something in common with,
right.
And that's a really easy place to start.
Yeah, people hire people they know, like, and trust. It's the same with how they want to do business.
That's right.
Yeah. So you talked about networks and reaching out to alums. What about professors? What in your experience do you see students and graduates? How do they work with professors in job searches, and how do they do that successfully?
I think it really depends on the professor and depends on the field. Some professors are really great about maintaining their network, especially if it was a class where they brought in outside speakers or alums to come and speak or people that understood the field. And so they can be great resources to reach back out to them. But just like anybody, depending on how many years out you are, if you're not maintaining that relationship over time, unfortunately, professors have so many students and it's hard to keep track of them. So treat them just like you would treat any other contact that you see as a long-term relationship professionally, and make sure they're staying up to date on what you're looking for, what you're interested in, what your relationship was like when you were a student or a recent grad. It's just like any other relationship, and it has to be cultivated.
Okay. That's a great point. And I often hear from graduates of a university, they say, well, gosh, I thought about reaching out to other grads, but why would they want to help me? What's in it for them? And secondly, how can I help them?
Yeah, I love that. Everyone has been in the shoes of someone looking for a job, and they've been there. And if those people have had that experience of being supported by alums when they were trying to make their way and doing informational interviews, I have to say I've been doing this for 7 years now, and people contact me often who have landed jobs that they love and say, how can I give back? Can I do an informational interview? Can I speak on a panel? Is there someone interested in my field? And I get to keep this pool of people who are interested. Or they'll say, Linda, I need to hire somebody. Have you seen any good candidates come through your office recently? So I really see that I really encourage people to reach out to fellow Ducks or whoever your mascot might be, because people want to give it back. They really needed it when they were there, and they're ready to return it. Of course, you have to be respectful of their time and follow all those rules of the trade of a successful informational interview. But I really do see that Ducks like to help Ducks, and I think you'd find that at any university.
Yeah. Besides career centers like yours and staying connected with other graduates and perhaps and keeping those relationships going with professors, what other resources are available to job seekers in the university community that people should take a look at, particularly ones they might not be aware of?
Well, I think that once you develop a relationship, hopefully with a counselor, you'll be aware that there are things like job search groups, professional development workshops, and networking events. And I think people need to develop the confidence to go to those events, because it is amazing. That's where you get to build more of those relationships that you have with the Ducks. I know of ad agencies, local radio stations, they come to our events and they hire local people. We have an event happening tomorrow night. I just had someone contact me from an ad agency that has 5 jobs, and she's going to come to the event and look for Ducks to hire because she's a Duck herself. And we helped her get launched when she was a recent graduate. So it's really important to go to those events, bring a fellow alum with you, because the people are out there. They want to hire people like you because people want to hire people they know and they trust.
Well, that's terrific. So we're coming to the end of our time together. What is the one piece of advice you would give to somebody who's thinking about reaching out to Career Center or staying connected with their university?
I would say just don't wait. One of the number one thing that people say is, I've been looking on Craigslist for 6 months and I can't find anything. By the time they come to me, they're kind of at a low point, instead of really starting with the Career Center, knowing I need to look for a job. And that's such a more positive way to launch your job search than waiting till you've exhausted all your own personal resources behind a computer and feeling really discouraged. So don't be afraid. We are here to help. We love it. And the people that come away from this feel very encouraged and relieved when they walk out the door. So just don't wait. Just reach out.
Linda, thank you so much. This has been very helpful. How can people find you online?
Well, if you're a Duck, please reach out to me. I'm at lfavero@uoregon.edu, or you can go to career.uoregon.edu, and I would love to get you launched in your job search.
And for those of us who are not fortunate enough to go to the University of Oregon, do you have resources or online tools or sites you'd like to share with people?
I do. I actually have my own consulting business because that was developed from people saying, I didn't go to the University of Oregon, but I'd love to work with you. So I actually have my private practice, and you can just go to lindafavero@gmail.com or my website at lindawfavero.com.
Thank you, Linda. It's been a pleasure.
Great. Thank you.
We're back in the studio, and with me, as always, are Ben and Cecilia. Any surprises from Linda's suggestions? Cecilia?
Not any surprises necessarily, just because I'm a duck as well. She mentioned the ducks multiple times in the services they have, and I utilized almost all of those, but that's me being an OCD planner, so not surprised, but she had some great advice.
Good. Ben, how about you?
Well, I think Linda nailed it on the head of what I was doing wrong when I was in college, showing up a month before graduation. I really like the idea of building a relationship with one person in the Career Center office so that person gets to know you and can become an advocate for you. I did not do that, and that's probably why I didn't get great value out of my experience there.
One piece of advice I wish I had followed was maintaining relationships with my professors, and I've been very good about staying in touch with classmates from graduate school in particular. And like you, Cecilia, I have that same OCD trait. So I'm actually the chair of the reunion committee for my graduate school. And we're having our 25th reunion next May. But you don't have to chair a committee or even go to the reunion every 5 years to stay in touch with your classmates.
Mm-hmm.
And aside from the professional benefits, I can't tell you the value of the friendships and how valuable they are as the years go by.
So I have a question for you guys. Who's the most famous alum from your school?
From U of O, I'm sure you guys all know Phil Knight.
Okay.
Maybe
yeah,
I should say that
makes
more
sense.
confidently. Phil Knight. I know Phil Knight. It's Phil Knight.
At the University of Iowa, I don't think he's a graduate, but there was a professor of astronomy, James Van Allen, and there's a series of radiation belts around the Earth that are named the Van Allen belts. So
Wow.
How many people have objects in space named after them?
I've got you both beat.
Okay.
Oh, great.
American University,
American University, Washington, D.C., Willard Scott.
right? How can we top that? Well, we'll do our best next week. And we'll be back with more stories, but more importantly, more tools and tips you can use to find your dream job. In the meantime, visit us at maxlist.org, and you can sign up for our free newsletter. And if you hear what you like on our show, not only subscribe to our newsletter where you'll find hundreds of great jobs, but leave a review and a rating for us on iTunes. This helps us reach other job seekers and helps others discover our show. Thanks for listening.